Celebrities will often change their legal name to a stage name because their real name is considered unattractive, dull, or unintentionally amusing. Other times, their real name projects an undesired image, is difficult to pronounce or spell, or is already being used by another notable individual, including names that are not exactly the same but still sound too similar. So to avoid all of this, they pick what's called a stage name to better represent themselves. Welcome to Top 10 Beyond the Screen. I'm your host, Johnny Rogers, and before we kick this video off, let us know down below which actor you think has the best name and tell us why. Also, if you don't want to miss another daily video from us, make sure you tap that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Plus, make sure you stay all the way until the end of this video because you won't believe our #1 spot. Now, with any further delay, let's get right into today's list of the top 10 celebrities whose real names will surprise you. In at number 10, Emily Jean Stone. It took Emma Stone a few times to finally settle on her stage name. When she was 16 years old, she had to ditch her first name Emily after joining the Screen Actors Guild and discovering that there was another girl who had the same name. While speaking to W Magazine, the Oscar winner said, "To ask a 16-year-old to pick a new name is really an interesting process because I was like, I'm going to be Riley. My name is going to be Riley Stone." And so my name was Riley Stone for about 6 months, and I did a guest spot on Malcolm in the Middle, and one day they were like, Riley, and I had no idea who they were talking to, and they were like, hey, come on, we need you on set. And I was like, oh, I'm not Riley, I can't be Riley. The actress finally settled on Emma just because it was closer to Emily, which is definitely smarter than changing it to Riley. She also said that as a kid, she was a big fan of the Spice Girls, so the name Emma came in part because of her love of Emma Baby Spice Bunton. And at number 9, STEFANI GERMANOTTA. Although the chart-topping singer is internationally known as Lady Gaga, we assume that her parents didn't put that name on her birth certificate. During one of her earliest interviews with Oprah Winfrey back in 2010, STEFANI said that the Gaga part of her name was inspired by the 1984 Queen song called Radio Gaga. She went on to say that Gaga was just a nickname that her friends had for her in New York, and so it just kind of stuck. It really began though with her producer and ex-boyfriend Rob Fusari, who would call her Gaga whenever she would come into the studio. According to Insider.com, she said, "When we were getting ready to really start performing, I decided that I'd be playing under my real name for so long, I wanted a new way to reinvent myself. So I said, what about Lady Gaga? Because Gaga is sort of crazy and Lady has such connotations." Although her ex has a different version of the story. According to him, he had sent her a text message and tried to type Radio Gaga, but the word radio autocorrected to Lady, and thus the name was born. Again, according to him. In at number 8, Ishur Danyolovich. The 103-year-old actor grew up as Izzy Dembski, but legally changed his name to Kirk Douglas before entering the United States Navy during World War II. Kirk was the son of poorer and illiterate Russian immigrants Herschel and Brina, who later went by Harry and Bertha. Their first name change came when they moved to America and kind of took up the surname Dembski after Herschel's brother, who was already working in America at the time. Although he still wanted to return to his birth name, Kirk believed that it was too Jewish for Hollywood at the time. However, he did later regret changing his name. During an interview with People magazine in 2015, Kirk said, "I wish I had kept it. It's more interesting to keep your original name, but can you imagine that name on a marquee?" Regardless, that change in name has now created a legacy in acting with the Douglas name. In at number 7, Eric Marlon Bishop. Jamie has told this story on many different late night shows from Stephen Colbert to David Letterman, but if you haven't heard how he got the name, I'll explain. He initially would go on stage as Eric Bishop, he'd have a great set, but then the following week he'd come back to perform and the other comedians would take him off the list because they didn't want the competition. So one night while he was in Santa Monica at the Improv, he noticed that there would be like 100 male comedians wanting to perform, but only a few women. He took into consideration that with there being so few female comedians, bookers of shows were kind of keeping spots open to diversify the list. So when he was putting his name on the list of names that would be randomly selected for the show, he wrote down a bunch of unisex names. He wrote Tracy Brown, Stacey Green, and Jamie Foxx. Then just as he intended, the host picked up the list and called out for a Jamie Foxx. No one answered, so he said, "Is she here?" That's when Eric put up his hand and said, "No, brother, that's me." Sure enough, he went on as Jamie Foxx, got a standing ovation, and the rest is history. In at number 6, Calvin Broadus. This West Coast rap legend has come a long way since being discovered by Dr. Dre back in the early 1990s. He impressed a lot of people when he guest starred on Dre's The Chronic in 1992, but not too many people thought that a rapper named Snoop would go on to global fame. Before he sold millions of records though, he was born Cortazar Calvin Broadus Dennis Jr. in Long Beach, California. Snoop actually started as a nickname that his mother gave him because she thought that he looked like Snoopy from the Peanuts cartoon. Well, that and he loved the cartoon, which is perhaps also where the dog end of his name came from, although his name has changed several times with different variations of this name. He started with Snoopy Dog, then he went to Snoop Doggy, then Snoop Doggy Dog, and let's not forget when he made that reggae album and changed his name to Snoop Lion. In at number 5, Karen Elaine Johnson. In the early 1970s, Whoopi moved her and her daughter out to California in pursuit of a better life. During the first few years that Whoopi lived in California, she had to take on many odd jobs, including a funeral home assistant and a bank teller. Within that time, her coworkers had noticed that she had a problem with passing gas frequently, and thus gave her the nickname of Whoopee Cushion. Not the most flattering name. When speaking about this nickname, Whoopi told Time magazine, "If you get a little gassy, you gotta let it go. So people used to say to me, you're like a whoopee cushion," and that is where the name came from. However, after her mother heard about this nickname, she told her that it sounded absurd and then pointed out that she would be better received in Hollywood if she went by a Jewish surname. Whoopi took this advice and changed her last name Cushion to Goldberg. In at number 4, Peter Hernandez. Bruno was actually named after his father Peter Hernandez, but was nicknamed Bruno from a very young age after his dad said that he looked like professional wrestler Bruno Sammartino. After graduating from high school, Bruno decided to leave Hawaii for Los Angeles, California. Over his first few years in LA, he struggled to make a breakthrough in the music industry, and especially because he had performed so frequently while growing up in Honolulu. He grew kind of frustrated with waiting for his career to move forwards. As for where the surname Mars came from, Bruno said that he felt like his name didn't have any pizzazz, and at the same time, women were saying that he was out of this world, so he made the hilarious assumption that he must be from Mars, which gave him the idea to take on the stage name of Bruno Mars. In at number 3, Amanda Lee Rogers. Doesn't that sound like the whitest name in the world? And at the age of 15, Amanda began to think her name was kind of holding her back. The young actress changed her name because she wanted to reinvent herself, and the first name Portia came from the heroine in the Shakespearean play The Merchant of Venice, although she couldn't just call herself Portia Rogers, so she added the Italian surname of De Rossi because it made her sound more exotic. I can appreciate the first name change from Amanda to Portia because, you know, it has some Shakespearean influence, if you will, but changing your last name to sound more exotic is a little weird. I mean, let me know down below what you guys think about it. In at number 2, KRISHNA BHANJI. Much like Barack Obama, Kingsley was born to a white mother and Kenyan father of Indian Muslim descent, although he opted to change his name long before he ever found fame. The inspiration for the name Ben Kingsley came from the affectionate ways people used to address his father and grandfather. In fact, his father's nickname was Ben, and Kingsley is from his grandfather's nickname King Clove. As a young boy, he was known to his friends as just Krish. KRISHNA BHANJI was such a strange name to him and felt like a fiction in and of itself. While speaking with the Radio Times magazine, Ben said the first name is Hindi and the second name is Muslim. Such a name would never exist in the whole of the Indian subcontinent. It's a nonsense name. It's more invented than the name I chose. Fair enough. Your life. YOLO, bro. Last but certainly not least, on our number 1 spot, Paul HEWSON. The U2 frontman has been known as Bono for several decades now, but many have actually no idea how he arrived at this stage name. His birth name was Paul HEWSON, but apparently he was nicknamed Bono Vox as a teen in Dublin. You see, when Paul was growing up, he was part of a street gang named Lipton Village. Within the gang, everyone was assigned a nickname. The name came from the Latin word Bonovox, which actually translates to good voice. Funny enough, it was also the name of a hearing aid store near to where he grew up. He initially disliked the name, however, when he learned that it translated to good voice, he kind of accepted that. HEWSON has been known as Bono since the late 1970s, although he uses Bono as his stage name. Close family and friends also refer to him as Bono, including fellow band members. And that has been the top 10 celebrities whose real names will surprise you. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you to our editors for all of their hard work. If you enjoyed this video, then please show us some love here by tapping that like and subscribe button. Plus, don't forget to leave us a comment down below with your thoughts on today's list. And for more videos like this one, all you gotta do is tap that playlist when it pops up. From Top 10 Beyond the Screen, my name is Johnny Rogers, saying until next time, stay classy. Scrolling. Came in part because of her love for Emma Baby Spice Bunton. I'm gonna do that again. Just that last sentence. In at number 8, Isher Danielov. Oh my god, I knew that was gonna be a hard drop. Danilovich. Isher Danilovich. He'd have a great set, but then the following week oh my god. Okay. This West Coast. Oh my god.